The sky above Valeris was normally calm, soft, and filled with silver clouds. But today, the sky looked wrong. A deep red glow spread slowly over the horizon, as if something huge was moving through the upper atmosphere. The Thrini people stopped their daily work and stared upward with fear growing in their hearts. They already knew what this meant. The old warnings were becoming real. A loud, heavy sound rolled across the land. It was not thunder. It was not a storm. It was the sound of something breaking through their world's air. The ground shook gently, and small stones jumped on the pathways. Everyone could see the long, burning trail across the sky. It was a ship large, metallic, and unlike anything the Thrini had seen in generations. It was a human ship. The elders gathered in the central plaza, their faces pale. They whispered old prayers, the same prayers they taught to children for hundreds of years. Those prayers all said one thing: humans must never come to Valeris. The stories about humanity were dark and frightening. Humans were fast to fight, quick to take, and known across the stars for their powerful armies. They won every war they entered. Their machines were strong. Their soldiers were unstoppable. The Thrini were peaceful by nature. They had no armies, no weapons, and no interest in violence. Their world was built on quiet cooperation and harmony. They believed problems should be solved with calm speech and respect, not force. But humans did not share this view of the universe. Humans believed in survival, expansion, and power. When the human ship began its landing approach, the Thrini gathered near the edges of the city. Some stood with shaking hands. Others held on to their children tightly. The elders tried to calm everyone. Even they were afraid. The landing craft touched down on the open plains outside the capital. Dust exploded into the air, covering the fields in a cloud of brown mist. The sound of the engines was so loud that it felt like it shook the bones of anyone nearby. The ship settled, and the engines finally went silent. A long moment passed. No one moved. Even the wind felt frozen. Then the hatch opened. A ramp extended toward the ground. A bright white light shone from inside the ship, making it hard to see who or what was coming out. Then the shapes appeared. Tall figures, covered in dark armor, stepped forward with slow, steady movements. Their helmets reflected the light like cold metal eyes. They looked strong, disciplined, and emotionless. At the front of the group walked a man with a thick, dark coat and firm posture. His steps were careful but confident. This was Commander Hale, leader of the human unit. He stopped a short distance away from the Thrini crowd. He looked at them without speaking, without smiling, without showing any warmth at all. The Thrini had prayed humans would stay away. But now, as Hale raised his hand and signaled his troops to spread out across the field, they understood the terrible truth: humanity had arrived. And it had not come for peace. Commander Hale stood in silence as the wind carried the dry dust across the open field. His soldiers formed a sharp line behind him, their armor shining under the pale sun of Valeris. None of them spoke. None of them reacted to the frightened Thrini who gathered at a distance. It was as if the humans were carved from steel. The Thrini elders stepped forward slowly. Their robes fluttered in the wind, and their hands trembled not from age, but from fear. The eldest among them, Elder Rowan, lowered his head deeply, performing the traditional greeting of peace. "We welcome you," Elder Rowan said softly, his voice shaking. "Please, tell us your needs. We want no conflict." Commander Hale simply stared at him. His expression did not change. His eyes were sharp and cold, like someone who had already decided the future of this planet long before landing on it. "You misunderstand," Ole said finally, his voice calm and steady. "This world is now under human protection." The Thrini murmured among themselves. The word protection felt wrong. Valeris had never needed protection. There were no wars here, no invaders, no chaos. They lived in balance with nature, growing their cities slowly and carefully. Why did humans think they had to protect anything? Elder Rowan lifted his head, confusion filling his gentle eyes. Our world is peaceful. We do not need guardians. Why have you come? Hale stepped closer. The weight of his presence made the elders step back without meaning to. Earth expands, Hale said. Our people grow. Our cities grow. Our needs grow. We require new land, new resources, new places to build a future. He paused, letting the silence stretch. Your world will serve that future. The Thrini felt their hearts sink. Hale continued, speaking as if reciting a rule he had repeated many times before. Cooperate fully, and you will survive. Resist, and forces beyond your understanding will fall upon you. The words were delivered without anger, without threat, in his tone just cold truth that made them even more terrifying. A younger Thrini, one of the temple scholars, stepped forward. Commander, we are a peaceful people. We harm no one. We have lived quietly for thousands of years. Why seize our home when we have done nothing? Hale's expression did not change. You have something humans need. That is reason enough. Behind him, human drones lifted into the air, buzzing like metal insects. They scanned buildings, farmland, and roads. Soldiers spread out with fast, practiced movements, mapping the terrain and marking important structures with glowing beacons. It was clear the humans were not planning a short visit, they were planning ownership. Elder Rowan tried once more. We beg you to reconsider. Please. This land is sacred. Hale turned away. Sacred means nothing to survival. His soldiers continued forward, ignoring the Thrini's worried voices. They measured distances, took soil samples, and established temporary command posts. In that moment, as the cold machinery of human expansion moved across their fields, the Thrini realized something important. This was not a misunderstanding. It was not a diplomatic visit. It was a takeover, and nothing the Thrini said could stop it. Lyra stood on the roof of her workshop, watching the humans spread across the fields like a silent metal wave. She was young by Thrini standards, only 60 years old, but her mind was sharp and her hands were skilled. She designed energy systems, repaired old machines, and explored dusty archives from ages long past. If anyone on Valaris understood technology, it was her. But even she had never seen machines like the ones the humans brought. Humans walked with heavy armor. Their drones hummed overhead. Their scanning devices sent lines of blue light flashing across buildings. Everywhere the humans went, they left behind circular markers, small metal discs that glowed red. Lyra didn't know exactly what the discs did, but she didn't like the feeling they gave her. Down below, her friend Joran climbed up the ladder to join her. His blue skin was streaked with dust, and his chest rose quickly with worried breaths. They took the central power hub, Joran said. Just walked in like they owned it. The engineers tried to talk to them, but the humans didn't listen. Lyra already knew. She could feel the shift in the air, the change in the hum of the city's energy lines. Humans had cut into the main grid. They are mapping everything, Lyra said, not taking her eyes off the soldiers. And they are taking control of anything important. Joran clasped his hands together nervously. What do we do? The elders are afraid to speak. The council wants to negotiate again, but, Lyra. The humans don't negotiate. Lyra nodded slowly. She had been studying human behavior since the moment they arrived. Their movements were precise, cold, and efficient. No wasted action. No hesitation. She had seen battle strategies in old archives that described soldiers. Just like these, humans were preparing for something bigger. She turned toward her workshop door. Come inside, she said. Joran followed her into the small room filled with tools. glowing screens, and half-finished machines. At the center of the room sat a metal device, one of the human scanners the soldiers had placed earlier. Lyra had stolen it the night before. "I opened it," Lyra said quietly. "I wanted to see what it does." Joran's eyes widened. "Lyra, that's dangerous." "Yes, which is why I did it alone." She tapped the scanner. The screen lit up, showing a map of Velarisan's exact copy of the planet's surface. Human symbols marked different areas. Some were labeled with words she didn't know. Others used simple terms: Zone A, resource extraction; Zone B, human settlement; Zone C, indigenous removal. Joran covered his mouth in horror. Removal, they mean. Lyra swallowed hard. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "They are not planning to live beside us. They are planning to replace us." A long silence filled the room. Then Lyra spoke again, softly but firmly. "If we do nothing, we will disappear. We must act now. Not with anger, not with violence, but with intelligence." Joran stared at her. "You want to resist?" Lyra looked out the window at the human soldiers. "No," she said. "I want to survive." And in that moment, the first spark of true resistance began to burn on Valaris. Night fell over Valaris slowly, turning the silver sky into deep shades of violet. The Thrini city, usually glowing softly with blue lanterns, now felt tense and silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Human light sprite, white and unfeeling, cut across the darkness like sharp blades. Their machines hummed steadily, scanning and marking more territory, latched from the shadows of an old stone walkway. She wore a simple, dark cloak, the hood pulled low. Joran and 3 others followed behind her, their steps careful and quiet. None of them were warriors. And quiet. None of them were warriors. They were builders, growers, teachers. But tonight, they had chosen a different path. "We need proof," Lyra whispered. "Something the Council cannot ignore. Something that shows exactly what the humans plan to do." Their goal was clear: sneak into the human forward base and find information they could use. The base had been set up. Quickly, just a cluster of metal structures connected by cables and glowing power lines. The humans worked with incredible speed. Every hour, the base grew larger and more fortified. Soon, the Thrini would have no chance to even approach it. But tonight, the humans were still adjusting equipment, moving crates, and securing supplies. It was dangerous, but it was their best chance. Lyra pointed to a narrow path between 2 metal walls. "There. The humans don't guard small gaps. They trust their machines too much." The group moved silently, passing under a thick cable that pulsed with bright energy. The ground was warm beneath their feet, heated by human generators. Lyra felt her heart pound. Each step felt louder than the last, though she knew she was almost silent. Inside the base, human soldiers moved like shadows, silent, fast, and focused. Lyra froze when a pair of soldiers walked by. Their armor reflected the moonlight, and their rifles were held ready. But the soldiers did not look down the narrow alley. They marched on. Finally, they reached a supply tent. It was smaller than the main command center, but still important. Stacks of boxes and machines filled the space. A warm glow came from a tablet resting on a crate. Its screen displayed data in human script. "There," Lyra whispered. Joran swallowed hard. "You're going to take it?" "No time to read it here," Lyra said. "We take it and run." She reached for the tablet, her fingers shaking slightly. The screen changed when she touched it, scanning her hand. She winced, fearing an alarm, but nothing happened. Humans didn't expect Thrini to touch their devices. She slid the tablet inside her cloak, but as they turned to leave, a deep mechanical hum filled the tent. A drone descended from the ceiling. Its red eye glowing brightly, Jorin gasped. It sees us, run. Lyra shouted. They sprinted out of the tent as the drone fired a beam of red light, striking the ground behind them. Human soldiers shouted in the distance. Lyra didn't look back. She clutched the stolen tablet tightly as she and her group vanished into the darkness, slipping through a damaged fence and diving into the old forest tunnels by the time the humans reached the tent. Lyra and her group were already miles below the city, breathing hard but alive and in her hands. The tablet glowed faintly, holding secrets that could change everything. The humans discovered the missing tablet at sunrise, taught Commander. Hale stood inside the supply tent, staring at the empty space on the crate. His expression did not change, but the soldiers around him felt the tension rise. Hale was a man who controlled his emotions well too well. That made moments like this even more dangerous. A drone hovered beside him, projecting a red hologram of the three knee figures it had seen the night before. The image was blurry, but the shapes were clear enough, cloaked, fast-moving, and very brave. Hale gave a single order: full security sweep. Bring them to me. His soldiers moved instantly. Alarms echoed across the human base, and drones launched into the sky by the dozens. They flew over the fields, emitting sharp scanning beams that cut through fog and clouds. The peaceful city of Alaris woke to the sound of mechanical wings and harsh metallic voices. Many, Threeni panicked and ran indoors. Families locked their doors, though they knew wood and stone would not stop human machines. Others knelt in prayer, hoping the humans would show mercy. But none came. Humanity was searching for someone, and Lyra knew. They were searching for her. She and her small group hid beneath the mountains, inside a narrow maintenance tunnel built centuries ago to carry steam from geothermal vents. The air was warm and humid. Pipes hissed softly above their heads. Joran paced back and forth. They know we took something. We should destroy the tablet before they find us. No, Lyra said firmly. This tablet is our future. It shows what they plan for Valoris. She tapped the device, activating a glowing map. More human symbols had appeared since last night. Hale's forces were expanding their search radius. They were marking new zones every hour. They are fast, Lyra whispered. Too fast. They plan to take the whole planet in days, not months. A heavy silence filled the tunnel. Then something unexpected happened. A deep rumble shook the underground floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra thought it was an earthquake until she heard the mechanical whir above them. Human dropships were landing. Soldiers were spreading across the region. They're here, Joran said. His voice almost a whisper. Lyra stepped away from the group and pressed her ear to the metal wall. She could hear boots. Heavy boots. Too many of them. Commander Hale himself was leading the operation, high above. Hale spoke into a loudspeaker, his voice echoing across the cliffs. People of Valeris, return what you have taken. Surrender the ones responsible. This is your only warning. But the Threeni did not respond. Hale lowered the speaker and gave a new command. Begin Phase 2. Dozens of drones shot into the caves, their red lights searching every shadow. They burned through stone barriers. They scanned every corner. Inside the tunnel, Lyra grabbed the tablet and pulled Joran behind another pipe. The drones were closer, now buzzing, scanning, hunting. They won't stop, Lyra whispered. Not until they find us. A Joran's voice cracked. Then what do we do? Lyra swallowed hard, feeling fear rise in her throat, but she forced herself to stay calm. We run, she said, and we find a way to fight back. Above them, Commander Hale stood on the mountain ridge, watching the drones disappear into the darkness below. He did not know their names. He did not care about their lives. He only cared about control, and he would the tunnels beneath the mountains stretched far, twisting like roots deep under the earth. Lyra and her group moved through them carefully, guided only by dim blue crystals that glowed along the walls. Their footsteps echoed softly, mixing with the distant hum of human drones searching above them. The air smelled of dust and old steam, and every step felt heavier than the last. Jorn was the first to break the silence. "We can't hide forever, Lyra. They're closing in." "I know," Lyra said quietly. "But I believe we will find something here, something that can help us." She wasn't guessing. She had a theory. These tunnels were ancient. They were built long before the modern Thrini cities, created by ancestors who were more technologically advanced than the present generation. Old records spoke of forgotten machines hidden under the mountain's tools. The Thrini no longer understood, but humans understood everything. If they found those machines first, the Thrini would lose even their history. As they moved deeper, the temperature changed. The air grew colder. The tunnel widened into a large chamber with metal walls covered in dust. Pipes and strange cylinders lined the room. Most were dead or rusted, but in the center stood a tall, rectangular craton like anything Thrini had built. Lyra approached slowly. This isn't ours." She wiped dust from the crate's surface. Underneath it, she found human writing. Jorn stumbled backward. "That means humans came here before. Long ago." Lyra shook her head. "No, this is new. They must have unloaded it during their first landing." The crate hummed softly, as if something inside was awake. Lyra pressed her hand against a small panel. To her shock, the crate responded with a beep and opened. A small white drone floated out, its spherical body cracked and sparking. Its single blue eye flickered weakly. The drone drifted toward Lyra, scanning her face. "Unit N1L." Online, it said in a trembling electronic voice, "Identity, non-human, non-hostile." "Acho." Jorn whispered, "It speaks." Lyra stepped forward. "You're damaged." "Can you understand us?" "Yes," the drone replied, voice glitching. "My core, unstable. My mission, incomplete." "What mission?" Lyra asked. The drone's blue light flickered. "Observation. Commander Hale does not know. I am not." Part of his forces, Lyra exchanged a look with Jorn. This drone wasn't military, it was scouting equipment, independent, maybe even forgotten. "Tell us the truth," Lyra said. "Why is Hale here? Why does humanity want our world?" Nilo buzzed and projected a red hologram onto the tunnel flora star map. Dozens of planets glowed in human-controlled zones. "Earth is not dying," Nilo said. "Humanity expands. Aggressively. Commander Hale seeks to prove dominance. Velaris is a demonstration, a demonstration." Jorn repeated bitterly. "We're nothing to them." "Not nothing," Nilo corrected. "A test. If Hale succeeds, more worlds will fall." Lyra felt her chest tighten. She had feared humans wanted resources. She had feared they wanted land. But this was worse. They wanted victory. They wanted conquest. Their world was just a step on a long path of domination. Lyra clenched her hands. "Then we have no choice. We must stand against them." Nilo's blue light pulsed softly. "I will help. I do not want destruction." For the first time since the humans landed, Lyra felt a small spark of hope. A damaged drone. A stolen tablet. A frightened group of peaceful people. It wasn't much, but it was something, and sometimes something was enough to turn a future, tear every stone of Velaris apart to get it. The sun rose slowly over Velaris, casting long golden rays across the plains. But beneath the beauty, tension spread through every corner of the land. The Thrini were no longer a peaceful people accepting their fate. Overnight, Lyra's message had reached every village, every valley, and eve. Reached every village, every valley, and eve, and every mountain home. Word of the stolen tablet and the truth it revealed traveled faster than fear. Humanity would show no mercy. But the Thrini would show courage. Across the planet, small groups moved with quiet purpose. Farmers covered human markers with thick clay. Teachers shattered scanning beacons with carefully timed vibrations. Growers redirected city power lines to interfere with human communications. Every act was nonviolent but powerful. The Thrini were not fighting with weapons, they were fighting with intelligence. Commander Hale watched the chaos unfold from the command ridge. His jaw tightened. "Sabotage," he said. "Planet-wide." His officers nodded nervously. Systems were failing. Drones were crashing. Scanners were blind. "Hale," didn't shout he. Never shouted, but the calm in his voice was sharper than any blade. "Find the source," he ordered. "Find the leader." But the Thrini were united now. No single person was responsible. Every citizen played a small part. Instead of panicking, they shared information. Instead of hiding, they stood guard over each other. And deep beneath the mountains, Lyra prepared for the final move. Nilo hovered beside her, its cracked shell glowing faintly. "Commander Hale, requesting orbital strike authorization," it reported. "If he succeeds, Valeris will fall." Lyra tightened the straps of her tool harness. "Then we stop his signal before it reaches the warship." Joran looked at her nervously. "We're going to climb the mountain. To the human transmitter." "Yes," Lyra said. "That is where the orbital command link is strongest. If we can jam it for even a moment, we buy the planet time." It was a desperate plan, but desperate plans sometimes saved worlds. The group climbed the steep mountain path as cold wind whipped their cloaks. Above them, human drones patrolled the sky. Nilo flew ahead, creating false signals to confuse them. Once, a drone passed so close that Lyra could feel the heat of its thrusters, but it kept going. Fooled by Nilo's clever tricks, finally, they reached the peak. The human transmitter tower rose above them like a spear of silver metal. Sparks danced along its edges as it pulsed with energy. Commander Hale stood there, waiting. He turned slowly as the group approached. His expression held no surprise. "I knew you would come," he said. "Resistance always leads to the same end." Lyra stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "You are wrong. Resistance leads to survival." Hale raised a device's orbital strike trigger. Before he could press it, Nilo darted forward with a burst of blue light, slamming into Hale's wrist. The device flew from his hand, sliding across the stone. "Traitor." Hale hissed at Nilo. Nilo's flickering voice replied, "I choose." Life, Joran, and the others sprinted toward the transmitter. Lyra reached the main console, pulled out her tools, and jammed the power feed. Sparks exploded. The tower groaned. Energy surged violently. A beam of white light shot into the sky, then collapsed in on itself. The strike signal failed. Below, across Valeris, the Thrini cheered as human systems crashed one by one. Hale stepped back, stunned. For the first time, Lyra saw something human in his cold eye sphere. You ruined a human victory," he said quietly. "No," Lyra answered. "We saved our future." With their systems crippled and their orbital weapons offline, Hale had no choice. The humans withdrew. Their ships lifted into the sky and vanished beyond the clouds. Vela stood free. The Thrini gathered as the sun touched the horizon. Their chants rising into the air, not prayers of fear, but songs of unity. They had faced humanity without mercy, but they had learned to stand without fear.